To be able to blow up our car, we need to divide it into sections. So we will open this model in Blender. So let's go into Blender. And in Blender, we have the default scene. Just press A and delete. So we get rid of everything. And then go in File, Import, and we will open the GLTF file. So go for the GLTF file and then locate your folder where you have this project. And let's go to the root actually. So we have assets, models, K city builder bits 1.3 assets, GLTF, find the hatchback, import it, and there we have it. Then let's save the file as, save as, and in our folders, let's create a new one and call it Blender, and then change our name of the file to car hatchback blend, and then press save as. So we'll be working on with the Blender file. Right, so now we have our imported car here, and if we enable shading, we can see that it's got the correct colors. What we need to do now is we need to divide this car into different parts, and we can start by just looking at the front. Looking at the front here, we have our car hatchback, and we will take this object and we will duplicate it. So let's duplicate our object, and then we can hide our original object. This original object will be used, but then we will have different parts. So let's copy this one, press Ctrl C, and then we need to divide this into sections, and we will use Bisect for this. So let's go into edit mode and press A to select all the vertices, and then go into mesh, bisect, and left click and drag it, and you can hold down Ctrl to make sure that it becomes a straight line. And then down here under bisect, we want to clear inner, that removes this part, or clear outer, which removes the other part. But let's start with clear inner. So now we have our car model here, and so this is the left side of our car. So let's rename it to left, and then press V to paste in our old car that we copied before, which will be the right car. So let's do a bisect again from this pasted in car. Let's go into object mode, make sure that it's selected, and then edit mode. Press A to select everything, mesh, bisect, do the same thing again from the center line, and then select clear outer. Right, so now we have our right car here, right. And then we need to make sure that it's divided once again. So let's go into top view, and we'll bisect using this line. So let's copy it again, Ctrl C, and then go into object mode to make sure that this one is selected. It is, and then Ctrl A to select everything, bisect, use the center line here, and it's the front, so let's name it front, and press V to paste in our old car, hide it, and then we need to do the same thing with the rear. So object select, Ctrl A to select everything, bisect, clear inner, rear. And let's do the same thing with the right side. Press Ctrl C to copy it. Then go into object mode, make sure that it's selected. Edit mode, A to select everything. Then bisect it. So that's our rear. And then Ctrl V to paste in our copied version of the right, and then let's do the same thing again. Object mode, make sure it's selected, edit mode, A to select everything, bisect, and then clear outer. Front. So now we have our different car parts which have been divided. So if we go into object mode, we can see that we have the different parts. Perfect. So what we will do now is we'll just save this and we will go back into Unity. So in Unity, let's hide our car and then models, find our Blender car and drag and drop it under. So now we have our Blender car here, which consists of the car hatchback and the different parts. We need to assign the material, so go into materials and car and drop it into under materials. Oops, actually don't do that, rather drop it into the right slot so it doesn't add another material. Okay, so now we need to hook up our game model again, or actually model is correct, car mesh renderer is this one instead, or actually this one, there we go. And now we can get rid of this one and just rename it. So now we actually have our car here, and if we disable these parts we will get less flickering. And if we hit play, we can now drive around with our car. And it sort of looks the same. There is some minor reflection here, and we can actually reduce the reflection a little bit of our car material. So we can reduce the smoothness to something like... See, we have this reflection here. 0.4 to get rid of that. Okay, so now another important thing is that because we have divided our model into our different parts here, we might have some shading problems. If we look at our front here, we can see that there is well, some shading going on which looks a little bit weird, and it is because the normals have been sort of messed up when we did this. So let's take our car here and find it in Blender, and then instead of having our normals imported, let's calculate them and hit apply, and that will smooth out some of the normal problems, maybe not all of them, but most of them. So that looks better already. And then we can just hide these parts again. And let's re-enable our car. So we need our mesh collider again on this car. So let's add a mesh collider. Make sure that it's convex so it can collide with things. And now we're going to actually make this explodable. And what we will do is all of these parts that we have here will get a rigid body on them. So let's add a rigid body. Make sure it's kinematic. And then we will add mesh colliders as well. Make sure that they are convex. And they should not be enabled by default. So let's uncheck those. And now if we take our car for a spin. So now our car is running here, and it's still a little bit shiny, so we might need to turn down the specular part of our material a little bit more, but it doesn't matter. So now our car can drive here, and we want it to blow up. So the idea behind blowing up the car, let's focus on the car, is that we will take our car model here, the main model, and we'll disable it. And we will enable the other parts. We will enable the mesh collider, and then we will use isKinematic and disable that. And we'll do this through code and do the same thing for the wheels, and then we will detach it from the main object here. So then the different parts will blow up, and we will add some force to make it more interesting. We can move this part here so we can see that it actually moves. All right. So now we can see one little problem is that the model is you can see through the model, right? There is no inside of the car. So that's something that we will need to fix in our Blender file. So let's go back again into Blender and open our car hatchback in Blender. So in Blender, let's just select our left front here, and then we'll go and add a modifier, and we'll use the Solidify modifier. So the Solidify modifier will make it solid. So if we move it out, we can see that it has an inside here. And there is some flickering here caused by the modifier. And what we can do is we can take this offset and put it to 0. That will make it better. There might still be some objects that are not perfect, but it's good enough for us. So let's do the same thing on the other parts. So add our Solidify, put it to 0, and then do it here as well. Solidify 0. All right. So now we have that resolved, and it looks a little bit funky here, and it's because of the normals, and because we have changed the normals inside Unity, they will be recalculated anyway, so that does not really matter. So let's save our Blender file and go back into Unity. So if we take our car now and let's just disable the main car and bring out let's say left front, we can have a look at and see that, yeah, we can now see the inside of our car, which is perfect. That's what we wanted. And we can bring in the left, well, all the different other parts just to make sure that it looks sort of okay. And yeah, there are some minor flaws on it, but it doesn't matter. When we blow it up, you won't really notice. So let's restore our car so we have our main car hatchback. Okay, so now it's time to get started with the coding part. So let's go into scripts and then make a new script folder. Actually, let's call it explode, and then we'll create a C# script called explode handler and open that in Visual Studio. Get rid of update. And then we need some references. So we need to get a hold of our original object. That's the one that we're going to disable whenever we hit something. And then we need to know the root model object so that we can find all of the rigid bodies that we should enable and then blow up. So let's add a serious field game object model, and that's just the root of our model. And then we need references to our rigid bodies, so we're going to find all the rigid bodies that are in there. And we can right away start by finding them. So let's add our awake function, and in the awake function we will take our rigid bodies, or we'll assign to rigid bodies, and we'll take our model here, and then we'll use get component in children, components with an S, in children, and it will be the rigid body that we're getting. And then because they are disabled when we are starting, we need to add true inside here, because that then includes inactive. So let's write true there, and that will get all of our rigid bodies. And then let's make a function, and let's add it as a public void explode, and then we'll take in a vector3 external force. So this script here could be used on different parts in our environment. It could even be like the trees that we're blowing up and things like that. So let's just add our explode here. And then when we are exploding, first of all, we will take our original object and we'll set it to active false. So then we have disabled our object, and then we will loop through our rigid bodies that we have found here. And so we'll do for each rigid body RB in rigid bodies. So we're looping through our rigid bodies that we have found here. And first of all, we're going to detach them from the main object. So go rigidbody.transform parent is equal to null. And then let's enable our mesh collider. So rigidbody get component mesh collider enable true. So we're enabling our mesh collider so it can collide with things. Then we are going to set our rigidbody game object to be true, active, I mean, and we need to configure a few more things. So is kinematic is going to be false because now we want it to be able to collide with the world. And then also to make it look a little bit prettier, we're going to check the interpolate to rigidbody interpolate, so that makes sure that the graphics flow a little bit better. Otherwise it will update at the same speed as our fixed update, which is slower than our update, so it will appear that things are lagging a little bit. And then we want things to actually explode a little bit more, because if we're just enabling it, it's just going to sit there and it's not going to be very exciting. So let's do rigidbody add force, and then what we want it to sort of blow upwards a little bit, and also we want it to move in the direction that we have provided here. So let's start by moving it or adding some force upwards. So vector 3 up times 200, and oops, and then let's add our external force, and we will use force mode force, which is actually default, so this is not really needed, but I'll just add it for clarification. So that will blow it up a little bit, and we will add our speed that we have forward when this is happening, so that we get the nice sort of blowing parts in the direction that we're moving in. And to make it a little bit more interesting, we are going to add a torque to it. So we're going to spin the different parts. So we will do a random inside unit sphere, which provides then a random vector 3, which is inside this random sphere of a radius of 1. So it's a little bit too much, so we'll reduce it by half. And in this case we're using impulse to make it spin even faster or directly. So there we have it. Now we can explode it, and we can already try it. So let's just do explode and then do a vector 3 forward. So let's save this and try it in Unity. So let's take our car and add our explode handler and assign our original object here and our model. There we go. So now if we hit play, it should blow up our car. And there we go. So yeah, the script works, and we have the different parts here. So now we want this actually to work when the car is hitting something and not when it's actually just starting up. So let's again open our explode handler and disable our explosion from the start. And then in our car handler, we need to get a reference to our explode handler. So let's add that after car mesh renderer. Okay. And then we need to be able to control if we are exploded or not. So let's add a state for that. Is exploded, boolean, which is false. And then when we have found, or actually when we have collided with something, we want that to trigger our explosion. So let's just add a comment, events, and then let's react to the event on collision enter, which is built into Unity. So whenever we're colliding with something, this will trigger. And let's just add a debug log here. So we write hit and then whatever we hit. And then we need our velocity. So let's take our vector 3, call it velocity, and take in our rigid body velocity. So the velocity that car has when it's hitting something. And then we'll take our explode handler, and we'll call explode with the velocity, and then we'll just make it a little bit stronger, so times 45. And then we will say that, okay, our car is now exploded. So that will blow up our car, but at the same time, we don't want it to. We don't want our car to just keep on going, because our main object will just drive ahead. We want it to slow down whenever we have hit something. So in our fixed update, let's add a check for if we have exploded. So if we are exploded, then let's fix this code. So if we have exploded, then we are going to take our drag, and we're going to take our rigid body velocity times z and multiply it by 0.1. That will force our car to slow down a little bit, and then we will just clamp our drag value here so it becomes between 1.5 and 10. So that will slow down our car whenever we have hit something. And whenever this happens as well, we want the car to move to the center of the screen. So if we have hit something on the right side, we want the view to go back towards the road. So let's move our car. So we'll take rigid body, move position, and we'll lerp the transformed position towards a new vector 3, 0, 0, and then the position of our car in the z direction, and then multiply it with time, delta time, times 0.5. So that will slowly move the car towards the center, and then we will return, because we don't want any of this code to execute. And as well, our update, we don't want it to do anything really if we have exploded. So in our update, let's do if exploded return. Okay, so let's save that and go back into Unity. Then let's select our car here, and we need to assign our explode handler. So let's just drag and drop our car, and that is set up. So now if we save and take it for a spin, we should be able to hit something and blow up our car. So let's just find something here, and there we go. So we could see that the car is rolling around, and yeah, it looks good, but we can go a little bit crazy if we want. So let's add a physics material here, create folder, physics material, and then let's create a physics material, and we will call it car parts, and let's do bounciness 0.8, bounciness maximum, and friction we can just leave it, I think. So let's take our different parts here, and then let's assign our material to it. So that should make things bounce a lot more when we're hitting something. So let's try it again. And yeah, now we have some really bouncy things. So maybe it's a little bit too much, but it's cool. And yeah, this part we want to reduce it as well, the smoothness 0.3. So there are some tiny things we can do to make it even more fun. And when we are hitting something and we're exploding the car, we want sort of a matrix slowdown effect, so you can really see what is happening, and that gives as well the player a little bit time to react to, oh, I died, what did I hit? So we will change our time whenever we're hitting something. So let's create an I enumerator slowdown time CO, which is a coroutine. So our coroutine, we will reduce our time scale slowly, or actually not that slowly, but not directly, at least we will do it over time. So we'll do a while loop and saying that while the time scale is larger than 0.2, then we will take our time scale minus equal to the time dot delta time times 2. So that will take our time delta time and multiply it by 2 and reduce our time scale. And then we need a yield return null, so we're just waiting for the end of the frame, and then we're doing this until our time scale has become less than 0.2. Then it will exit. And then we want our sort of the time to stand, well, not still, but not reduce anymore when we have reached this 0.2 threshold. And we will then wait for 0.5 seconds, and then we will speed up the time again. So we'll do the opposite of this. So we'll do a while the time is less or equal than 1. Then we'll take our time, and then at this point we will do it a little bit slower, so we'll not add the times 2 here, and as well our yield return null. And once we have completed that, we are going to make sure that the time scale is 1.0, so we set it to 1.0. And then we need to start our coroutine as well. So let's add that on collision enter, start coroutine, slowdown time CO. So let's save and go back into Unity. So let's drive again, and let's find the side of a building here, this one. And now we have this matrix slowdown, and things are then speeding up. And yeah, the bounciness is really a lot, but it's cool. You can play around with the values of the physics material to make sure that, well, it fits your game style, and as well with the slowdown values, so they become a little bit well, aligned with the gameplay that you are building. I'd like to give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. It helps us with every single contribution that we can get. So please consider supporting us on Patreon. The link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.